Whoa, it's reviews day. We're doing it live.
That's our gotta
Doing it
get that
live.
baseline.
We got a time crunch, so we're gonna try and knock this out. We're gonna have a nice, concise, the reviews will just nice, concise. Don't eat that way. My one cat just kind of eats and then kind of spits it out and then eats it again. So annoying. Do not,
Like the
okay.
fly, just
And
gotta
then
throw
like,
up on it and then eat
right.
it.
But then like drinks out of my water, so my water's got like cat food in it. So yeah. And there's water bottle. There's a water thing right next to it. Anyway, so this week was Absolute Superman week. So it's the third and final for now, the completing
Not
of the
final at all.
Trinity.
Yes.
Trinity. This is the one that I think I was most nervous about, right? I was.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because Superman's a
because
hard character to tackle, and you're showing it us. Young Superman doesn't work. Like a lot of times people go, young Superman is just it doesn't work in comics. It worked on Smallville, but we didn't think it was going to work on Smallville. We didn't
no,
think Smallville was going to work, but it did for
yeah,
10 seasons.
that's
But
true. Yeah.
yeah,
So my you're running the lead on this one because you're more Superman, I'm more Batman. And are you how is your Krypton? How did you think Krypton was here?
I think this is a great interpretation of Krypton because it's a dark Krypton because it's a dark universe. Um, and it starts right off with the class system, the caste system, like we've talked about in the past. Just the fact that if you're a scientist, you're the smartest, you're the most elite, which is hilarious because in America today, it seems like science, you're a moron if you're a scientist.
Right.
You don't know what you're talking about. But I like it. And then you got the workers, which are laborers or unions, and they're very happy with where they're at, but they're still downtrodden, you know. And then there's a middle management, and management's always just the worst. And I speak from experience because I did manage for a brief
Right.
while, but like it wasn't for me.
This is
Because
Jor-El middle management Jor-El.
you know what it is when you have ideas or you're a good guy, you can't be a manager because you'll manage great, but then the company wants to make more money somehow or to not be fair.
Hmm.
So it's hard to be that and be a good guy.
Right.
You know.
We Michael
So
Scott. It's almost
yeah,
like a success despite, like the office was success. It was like success despite like the incompetency. This one's a
yes.
little bit different, but no, I thought the call. I mean, the biggest thing the biggest star of this for me, I think the coloring is so good. I'll look up to see who did the coloring, but I think the coloring was ridiculous.
Coloring is fantastic.
I thought Rafa was a
Just
little restrained. I thought that Rafa Sandoval, who drew it,
mm,
I felt it was a little bit more restrained than I expected it to be. But overall, I mean, it was again super solid. Jason Aaron, this is his third work, I guess, right? For DC because he did he's still doing Off World. Off World's late. Um,
yeah.
and then his 3 issues of Superman, which I think were great. I don't know. I would have liked John Timms on this, but Sandoval, I just because I think some of the scope was a little smaller. I did like all the crests, but I'm trying to think about how many when I was reading. I was like, how many different Kryptons have I read? Right. So we have, Win Mortimer and Kurt Swan Krypton, right? Classic.
Right. Well,
Siegel
prior to
Schuster.
that, you had the Golden Age where everyone's jumping around. Golden Age, everyone on Krypton had powers. They're all just leaping all over the place, and it's really. I don't think they get into it, but like they don't get into any sort of source of government, but it was always going to be science driven because they're advanced.
Mm, right.
You think advanced culture revere science, and yeah, the Silver Age, which is awesome, which lasted until the movie. The movie changed it to still science, but all very crystallized and the white robes.
Right. And that bled in the comics at that time a little bit, or
It didn't really bleed until John Byrne took over, and he didn't mimic the way they look, but he mimicked the overall feeling. It was very
right,
sciencey, very
cold.
very cold. Yeah, the robots. You didn't have sex with your wife to have a kid. It's all made. And John Byrne lasted until Jeff Loeb switched it up a little bit. He kind of merged the two.
Mm,
And then Wade came along with Birthright and made a different merging of the two three, and then
Yeah,
Jeff
Wade
John comes
merged all
in.
three. Right.
Jeff John comes in, and he's like, "Oh, you could these people, they're people." So they change their costumes. They change
The
their you. So
people, the
when Jeff Johns
people.
came out with Superman, Krypton was everything you knew before. You could look Wacky Silver Age, you could look John Burnish, you could look Mark Wadish, Birthright,
Mm.
and then what? That stayed until 52, which
Well, did Robinson's World of Krypton, did that differ too much? Or that was James? No, I'm sorry, that was Jeff Johns, and then Robinson
yeah,
kept it going. That
yes,
was
kept it going.
Nightwing and Flamebird and all that stuff. So okay, that's I like that. I thought that was my favorite. I mean, I like Birthright quite a bit, but I think I was a little bit biased on Birthright because I liked that Lena Francis Yu was a different. Uh, it looked different. It didn't look like a DC book. I think that's what was kind of because he
Yeah,
was not a DC artist, and I feel like he grew up real fast, and he even admits that. He admits that it's like, hey, you're on Wolverine. Hey, you're on X-Men now. He's like, oh, I'm like 22. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's But then when he went over that, what book did you do with so Libdell? What was that book?
High Road,
What was it called?
High Road, the High Road.
High Road. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Very
good.
Steve Rogers-y lead character.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was good. That was for Cliffhanger.
That's right. Yeah, but
Well,
that's the most like original stuff that I think and I think when what's the Snyder movie, the Zack Snyder movie that came out? I felt like it was some concepts were lifted from that. His like his non adaptation movie, I think was like lifted some stuff from that. And I was like, well, you just
Sucker
read that
Punch.
count. Sucker Punch. I think some Sucker Punch stuff is in there.
Oh,
Some of the planes, some of the there's some of the steampunk stuff that's in that book. I think I felt Sucker Punch kind of took. But
I haven't rewatched Sucker Punch since the
I will.
movies.
I just won't. The but Absolute Superman, I think for the most part, it's a great setup. We haven't seen all the stuff just yet as far as like I know I unfortunately got spoiled. I read this one article and it just was just talking and just loosely about a lot of the powers and differences and stuff. So I mentioned the cape a little bit to you, but I know a bit more what's going to happen with that, unfortunately, because I read this
Wow,
stupid article online. But
that's
I
that's
want to
awesome.
see how it unfolds. I think it's I. Well, how would you rank them? How would you rank Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman?
I'm so see. Batman had the most room to work. That might come off as the best comic because he had more pages.
Hmm. Right.
I'm not saying that's the only reason. It's they're all three are so solid. I'm so pro. I'm like I can't call it a tie. I don't know which. See, because I love Superman so much, but I feel like the Batman book might have been the best, but also it was first.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to rank Wonder Woman last, but because that was a great book. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm such
I'm
an
ranking them
Elseworlds
one, two,
fan.
three. Yeah. I mean, I'm ranking them one, two, three. But I feel like this is going to have. I feel like this is only going to get better. I think this would have benefited with like 8 more pages, and I don't always think that's the way. I felt like Absolute Superman and Wonder Woman felt the right length. I know Batman was a little bit longer, and but I think Wonder Woman was the most like tight, perfect wise, and that was with stuff that I usually dislike, which is like you had 3 double spread splash pages of showing time elapsing. It's the
Yeah,
same. I usually hate that, but that was done really well, and so yeah, I can't beat that. So,
yeah.
but
I love this universe. I think it's just so fun. I hope the next batch of books can follow suit.
yeah, we haven't seen much from that. We've only seen the Martian Manhunter art for that. We haven't seen
Yeah,
Jeff Lemire's doing a Flash book, but it still is unknown if there's an artist to that or if Jeff Lemire's drawing that, which I don't really want.
I
Um,
kind of think I feel like that shouldn't happen. He's a phenomenal artist, but like you've already established very good art in the first three books,
right, right.
and they're all dark. They're all detailed. They're all very detailed artists. So I kind of want to keep that going.
Yeah, so I just,
But you know what?
um,
We have no pool, Mark.
right.
Just
Well,
listen. We'll come on this show and we'll spout our ideas and our opinions and what we love, and nobody will listen. It's not like Snyder's like, oh, let's
that's
see
okay.
what these guys say about All
See what
Star
these
Super
guys
or
say.
Absolute Superman.
Yeah, I mean, I think this could have breathed. I just want a little bit more, but I almost feel like I feel like that's the way with most Jason Aaron books. I was thinking about the Jason Aaron Conan book. I think issue 4 is when I'm like, oh, he's got it. He's got a stride now. So I feel like Jason Aaron
Yes.
warms up into it. So, and this is
He's a
not,
writer that keeps it going.
yeah, for
Like
sure.
it's just
But
not everyone could do that.
His Thor stuff, if you go to talk about his Thor stuff, you don't talk about the beginning of a Thor run. You talk about the middle of a Thor run. And then by the time it gets to War of the Realms, you don't want it anymore. You're like, I've been done with this for
In
20
Thor run,
issues.
I talk about the beginning of a Thor run because isn't it the first series? Is like where it's set in 3 different times.
Yeah, yeah, but
And
I
that's
don't know if the God Butcher stuff like that's the God Butcher stuff right off the top,
yeah.
and like I didn't really want that because I was like I remember reading it, I'm just like, well, this doesn't make sense because then that guy would kill this guy. Like I didn't like it, and then it only got better.
Yeah.
You know, but so how many issues? How long do I have to keep reading Batman? Like I have to keep reading it, and
The
I do have
regular Batman.
I talked to someone yesterday and said like, look, because he was talking about what he likes and what he's read. I was in line at a comic show yesterday, and I was like, well, I've read every Batman issue since 1989, like as a fact, and I can't. This is probably the most uncomfortable I've been because, a couple issues back, getting continuity on this show, I don't like bad Thomas Wayne. So this
Yes,
again, and
which
I
we've
feel like
discussed
this
about.
is so annoying. So like whoever comes on Batman's like, I'm gonna reinvent Batman. I'm gonna take it back. You didn't know about this. You can do it well, like Court of Owls. You can do it well, like Hush. And this is
Ooh,
just
sounds good.
lazy. I feel like this is just the laziest thing you can do. So Zarsky, as positive as we want to be on the show, I'm sorry. Don't have Bruce Wayne have like a stepbrother or something, right? And then like the stepbrother is
It would
kind of
be
like a
it'd be
Batmanish character already,
a half
half
brother.
brother. I just don't want it. I just don't want it. I think I just don't like it. Don't tarnish that. And guess what? When he finishes this, no one's ever touching this again. And
There's
also,
a history to this, right? He does have a brother or something. There's like some '70s book with
it
he's like
I
a sailor,
think that's right. Was it
and
like
it's
Matt Murdock's brother? You know what I mean? It was like it's like
Thomas Wayne.
mm,
And in Earth 2, the Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely, incredible crime syndicate hardcover. Like,
oh yeah.
isn't Owlman? Is he Thomas Wayne or is he Bruce Wayne? And Thomas Wayne was his older brother who died, but his dad's alive. Thomas Wayne's alive in Earth 2, and I think he's like commissioner.
Well, absolute Batman's mom's alive. You know what I mean?
Yes,
So that's also kind of playing with that. I just don't want. I just feel like Hush did this well. Carnivals did this differently because that was more societal. That wasn't exactly, and then
yeah.
it only a little bit added. It didn't change.
It
It
made
didn't
Thomas
change
Wayne.
character.
It made Thomas Wayne's job harder. That he was fighting against a society that he wasn't even aware of. It was there, right? Because
Yeah,
Thomas Wayne's trying to do good, and you got this Court of Owls trying to do bad, or trying
yeah.
to just
Which historically is could be a thing. It could be the Freemasons and all that. Like there's a lot of conspiratorial stuff that could be.
yeah. So in Earth 2, would it be like since it's Owlman, would there be like a jury of bats instead of Court of
A
Owls?
jury of bets. Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I wouldn't be. Well, I think he did Dark Knight's Metal, so that's kind of he was already doing his like reverse on that. So,
Earth 2, I would love to write an Earth 2 series. I just have such
did
a
you read that
fascination.
entire Earth 2 series, the one that happened that like Robinson started and stuff? Like, did that really do
I'm
anything?
talking about Earth
That
2, like Crime
I know.
Syndicate Earth,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which
But there was an
which
Earth 2 book
there was
technically.
an Earth 2 series that was, yeah, James Robinson's reinvention of the Golden Age characters post New 52.
Mm.
And that book was good. But Tom Taylor came on that book and kind of made it better. I'm not shitting on James Robinson.
Oh, yeah. But
Tom
I
Taylor
think he
put that
starts it.
book over.
I didn't get through it. I don't know. I didn't finish it through.
He's
It's too.
Taylor. So
I don't know if I could
whatever he
ever get
did,
back
man,
to
it's
it.
just it's a fresh view. He just does it in a way that's like refreshing. So Batman, it's a
Yeah,
weird.
it's
Issue.
something.
Looks good. The art's fine.
Well, that's the thing is that to me, like I just again to go back to the concept last week, like things aren't as big. Carmen DiGomenico is a different artist than Jorge Jimenez, and Jorge Jimenez, I feel like since Tinian left, Jorge feels like okay, well if I'm going to stay, I'm not going to draw the way I did with Tinian's run. That's fine. Changes it a little bit, and now you have
Well, he
Carmine
had that.
in.
He did have a break though because he went and did Nemesis with Mark Miller.
Right, right, and changes
Then
out a
he
little
came back.
bit, so he came
Yeah.
back and but changed the Batman. The Batman's a little different, and now you have Carmine DiGomenico come over and then do a fill in. But if you didn't tell me that, like I wouldn't have said it wasn't Jorge Jimenez. So I just think that I feel like Carmine got like I feel like editors are saying like just make it like this. There's too many panels on the page. There's not enough breathing room for having that artist in there. Same thing with horror. I think last issue there was too many. You're not letting it breathe the right way, which is weird because Zarsky was traditionally like almost an artist first. So I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with this book. I can't seem to like this book. I haven't liked one storyline. Not well, I liked the first storyline where Batman like fell to Earth. The concept was like huge, and he like burned up through like through the atmosphere, but his cape, and there was all these different ways. There's all these different ways that you can do it. So I think so. I think so. Um, all right, so JSA, JSA.
I liked it. I liked it.
It's solid. It's
It's
yeah.
solid. I think the art's real clean. Like the guy's a really good storyteller. Is it Diaz?
This
Uh,
guy jumped up. No, it's Diego. So I'll pull it up. I have it. But like he jumped up severely because he did the Flash miniseries, the Golden Age miniseries, spinning out of the last
with
JSA
Jeremy
series.
Adams.
Yeah, yeah. So that, but he just jumped to a certain level. Same thing here. The colors were excellent. Um, but this is it's interesting. This is almost like John Boy Myers, right? There's a little
Yeah.
more of an extreme, but then like Todd Nauck underneath. So it's almost like
Yes.
Todd Nauck layouts. And Todd Nauck, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, JSA 12, which was not JSA 12, which was basically Stargirl, the finale,
Yeah.
right? Because it was just a Stargirl issue. That's it.
Yeah.
Because Jeff Johns like, I'm leaving. I'm going to Ghost Machine, and I've been gone for a while. I'm sorry, this book took forever, and I never started it, never finished it, never started a storyline, never finished a storyline. Here's 12 issues. I don't think anything happened. I don't think a thing happened, which hinders this book because I feel like at the beginning of this book, it's the same problem with the X-Men 1, 2, and 3, the newest X-Men, the McKay. They talk about Krakoa and I don't care. I don't care. I feel like the first 5 pages, they're like, well, this and this and this. I don't care. That last series did nothing, and it was inconsequential. It needed nothing. That being said, I love Obsidian being back. I love Jade. Like I think that's
Yes.
Infinity Incorporated. You have Infinity
I like
Incorporated.
the reference of how they do a brief history of the Justice Society, and I love like oh, we were a society, and then we became a squadron. I'm like, yes, because All Star Squadron is awesome.
Right, right. And then
That's
then
some of my
then
favorite
then they
'80s
became a
comics.
family, as they say in here. So,
Yeah.
you know, I don't like it's called Ragnarok. Don't call it that. Don't call it that. That's not fun. But overall, yeah, I feel like it's almost surprising. It's weird the way that Lemire created his own like JSA like over in Black Hammer, right? A bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Like and then now he's over here like doing this. But yeah, overall really good. And then of course the reveal. I mean all the classic stuff's there. You have the big table and all that, but you have the reveal that Obsidian being as extreme as he is, which fits, is Johnny
Yeah.
Sorrow at the end. So that's a great reveal at the end. That I wasn't really sure what they were going to do. I'm curious how they're going to bring everyone. So the old characters are missing. So you got Wildcat, Alan Scott's missing. Alan Scott with a cool beard, actually, really good.
Yeah.
Hawkman with the movie.
Because he had a beard.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Got to do there.
That's right. That's right. Alan Scott has two children in this book, but then is how many years back? Actually, I don't know. I don't know who was in charge of that, but uh, yeah, he's now a gay character. And then the last miniseries Jeremy Adams did is Jeremy Adams, or did he do that?
No, was it Sheridan?
Yeah, Tim Sheridan. That's right.
Sheridan.
Yeah. So, but that miniseries explores his sexuality in the 20s and 30s or whatever, in the golden age, basically. But they're missing. So you got Dr. Fate, you got Hawkman, Hawkgirl missing, and then they got to find. Then they talked about reservists. They actually make fun of the Justice League in this book a little bit. They're just like, well, we should do the Watchtower thing, and we can have that, and everyone's a Justice League member, which I don't like. I don't like it. Makes it less special. Can we call them the reservists? But they're now JLA people, so it's like okay, like I don't know, but I like Sand. I think Sand's the best. Sandy Hawk
Yeah.
is the best, So that's a kind of a pull from the initial. So we'll see. I mean, it's again, I'm. This was the best book. We haven't read Justice League. This was the best team book I've read in a while. I don't like, this was pretty fun. So we'll see. I mean, it's got a lot of
Jeff,
juice in it. It's got a lot of juice
yeah,
in it.
Jeff Lemire has been he's written so many comics the last 10 years between his Black Hammer stuff, between his X-Men stuff. He's just this is just feels like a very I mean he definitely tipped it's almost easier to read than Jeff Johns' last series. I love Jeff Johns, but like he's been a different writer since Doomsday Clock.
Hmm.
I feel like something
Right.
changed after that. I just feel like this was easier to read. But I still love all of Jeff Johns' concepts, and I hope they do come back. I love that Just Society of the Future. I love all the everything weird he did in that Just Society book.
Yeah.
It just felt rushed. Jeff Johns' last JSA book just felt rushed.
I don't think anything happened. I can't tell you one thing that happened
He
though.
set up so much,
Nothing.
like the fact that it's Just Society in the
But why
future with
set it
like,
up? Just don't even set it up. It's not going to get picked up on. No one's going to do it. The problem with a lot of these books, I feel like they have too many clean opens and breaks. And I know I just complained about the Krakoa, and then it goes to this, and then it's like, oh, it's a new break. That's what I want, but then it's not what I want. But that's not exactly what we like in comic books in general. Like when
Mhm.
you talk about the triangle arrow of Superman, if you talk about burn through Death of Superman, it's consistently Superman's life, right? And death,
Yes.
right? So, and then even then, with him coming back and then having the mullet and then him being electric and then him going to Justice League, like it's the same Superman. And then it had to, then everything became obsessed with sales. Let's cancel the whole universe and then New 52.
Ugh.
Some people are bitching about the absolutes. Oh, it's just another New 52. So what? So what? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
New
so what?
52 should
Was a
have
was
been
a
an absolute.
response of Ultimate. That was a response a bit. They're like, well, we're not going to do a separate line. We'll just do the whole thing. And now they're trying to
Remember
do have the
people?
cake and eat it too. They're trying to do both. They're like, we're gonna do all in over here, absolute over here, but
It's the
everything's
way they
all
should
in.
do it. Do you remember when people love the Ultimate Universe so much? They're like, oh, we don't need a Marvel Universe. Let's just have the
Yeah,
Ultimate Universe.
right.
I'm like, no, that is a horrible idea.
And then they
You know,
folded it in, or then they have Miles over here, and I don't think Miles completely works over here. Like
I think he does. I think he's had so many issues here now. I think he works. I think he
I
works
just I
fine.
just think they keep canceling it. I feel like the movie Miles is superior. They figured out a way to elevate that character a certain way, and then having the twist of the end of the second movie is better than the comic book concepts. You know
Yes.
that
Yeah,
had
they
been
they
done.
really know what they're doing. I mean, I don't know what they're doing with this third one. Waiting forever for it. I thought it was supposed to come out one
It's
year
not
after.
even recorded. No, I think Milligan told me that they haven't even recorded it yet. So that's ridiculous. And then also
Listen,
at the end of this one, when it was coming out, a lot of the artists were complaining they were like to the deadline. Again, it was being changed while it was in theaters. They changed stuff in
first off,
theaters,
how late did
putting
that movie
patches
come
in.
out? 6 months or a year? The
Well, it
first
was
one.
supposed to be one. Then they said it was two. Then they said the delay is because we're making them together. And now we
Right.
heard that's not true. So I just don't know. I don't know what to believe anymore. The reports are not to be
Yeah.
believed.
And they were supposed to be 6 months apart.
Yeah, I don't know.
The kills. All right.
So well, we're gonna. Oh, I think I can. All right. So Marvel, uh, Hickman still the reigning best writer of Marvel right now.
When it's a new, fresh project.
When the project has a non-continuity situation, like
Yes.
Doom, Ultimate Spider-Man, like he seems to just hold this still that lowercase.
You know, even his Secret War, like once that was establishing a new universe, that was kind of good. When he started off Krakoa, that was good because it almost felt like a new universe.
I just hate the lettering. I hate the lettering choice. The
Yeah.
lettering choice for that, I guess I don't know, maybe if Ben just started it, to having the lowercase lettering in Ultimates was kind of interesting when he did Secret Wars because then when the maker shows up, like it's lowercase, so you know it's something's wrong with it. Like you
Yes.
know that character. So that was the reveal. But now that everything is this is not the Ultimate Universe. This is basically that. Miles is the youngest here, which is kind of neat because Miles is like probably 35, 40. Everyone else is like 60.
Yeah.
So I think they're doing a good job of having like future Avengers. I did think it was a weird choice. I keep saying go bigger, but I thought it was pretty powerful to have the Hulk like flying at one point and they just have him jumping, and it's real small. It's like real small on the page, but cool. Like
Yeah,
but
they're trying to show the epicness of like everything around them. Sometimes that effect can be really done well. There was an awesome shot is it Superman drawn by Lee Bermejo? Maybe it's Superman versus Gen 13. Maybe he's fighting a big monkey,
Hmm.
and the monkey takes up like double page splash, and there's little Superman, but you still
Right.
know Superman's powerful. Like Jeff Darrow would do it a lot. Like when he would do
Right.
pinups
Right. Right.
back in the
Yeah.
90s,
Yeah.
like little character, so much garbage going on.
Yeah. 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 No,
McDonald's
that's
cups
funny.
floating by, just like you snails with nunchucks. Like you just, it was in that drawing. You could think of it. It was in that drawing,
Yeah.
and that's what I took from this Hulk piece. Like the world's big, and as big as the Hulk is, it's a very interesting choice, and it's beautifully done.
Yeah. The aliens are good. I'm trying to think who did the coloring. It was, I want to say it's Scorvina who normally does Ivo Scorvina. But overall, I mean, I think the production on this is really good. I think that it's like it's. I think it loses a little bit of steam. I know this was a couple weeks late, and I know that the third issue is going to be extra delayed, and the fourth will maybe will
Right.
never come out. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's like it's just that I don't know. This is what's slowing down things. This is what's slowing down some things. If you're going to have that, because I kind of can't even believe like X-Men came out this week. It was X-Men 7, and I was like, is that right? Like, it kind of feel like it just started,
Quick. Yeah.
and that's the momentum of it. Because yeah, so I don't know. I this is probably going to be a really good hand someone trade. You know what I mean? Like, if like going so it should be pretty evergreen because it's not going to be like, when you look at all these crossovers, like, oh, well, that's why. Okay, Superman has a mullet here. Superman's fight. Oh, that's that time. You know what I mean? This doesn't have
Yeah.
to be. So that's interesting. I don't know if there's been crossovers like that necessarily where they're kind of put the characters pre or post in a certain space.
Yeah, usually it usually you want to when you have a crossover, you want to do current character. Like it's almost in continuity, like Batman, Alien, or Batman Predator. Batman Predator feels like in continuity at the time.
Yeah, it's like 90. Yeah, like
Right. So
991.
that's what you want. But
Mhm.
like you don't want Avengers right now fighting aliens. It just doesn't make sense.
I don't want Storm
Like
and the Avengers fighting aliens. Yeah, because you're
no,
like, why is Storm here?
you want the Avengers hardcore. And it's great because in the future, aliens is about the future. It's about a dirty future. It's very corporately owned, which I hate that idea, but like it's a corporately owned future.
Well, they're doing the Utani, like Stark Utani situation. Like,
Yes.
they're,
Yeah.
they're doing a lot of interesting stuff. I
That was
just,
cool. That was a good flip.
I know, and they have the Guy Pearce. We just talked about Guy Pearce, and
Yeah.
like Guy Pearce drawing in here, and I don't even know if they use that era of Guy Pearce in the movies. And then, but it just stunts me whenever they have any type of Prometheus reference. They have the engineers. I'm just like, I don't want
The
this.
engineer got the weird ships.
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, again, I have I I'll watch Romulus. I think, yeah, I just don't. I'm not excited for it. You know what I should do? I should watch two-thirds of Romulus and turn it off. Because I heard that basically it's really good, and then just like right before the third act, just like, yeah, just turn it off. I don't think I can, you
No,
know.
it's dirty. It feels real. Like this is like that. Like it's the future, but like the future, when you picture the future, you picture clean. Everything's clean, but really, it's just be like today. To be dirty, everything be muddy, or you know what I mean. Like, and
Mm.
Romulus is
Everything's
dirty.
on fire.
Yeah,
New Jersey's on fire, everybody. I don't know whoever's watching this, but a lot of New Jersey is on fire. If you go outside right now,
we've had a
Sophia just
month and a
left and
half.
she came back in and she said, have you been outside?" I said, "Yeah, I know. Medford's on fire. Parts of Glassboro's on fire.
Yeah, which is
Voorhees
I'm
near
next
the
to
hospital's
Glassboro.
on fire."
Yeah,
So
like it's we've had a month and a half drought in New Jersey, which is unheard of. New Jersey doesn't have drought this bad typically.
yeah, there's control. Medford is, I forget how many yard they had. 2 out of 13 acres 2 weekends ago was a controlled fire. They just had to let it.
Right.
Now I'm not sure because now there's a lot of pictures coming through my apps and stuff. Be like, are you okay? Everyone okay? Like, what would you do? Is this air quality okay? Like, I mean, it's a little
My sister lives in Pennsylvania,
troubling.
out near Lancaster, and there's like large hills, like not quite mountains, but like they're on fire, and it looks so creepy. Like,
Yeah,
oh, there's the hill we look at every day, and
it's
it's on fire
snowing. Where's it snowing? It's snowing in.
in the Middle East. Isn't this how Fantastic
Ugh.
Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, or whatever, like started?
Yeah, I think so. Doug
Yeah, good
Jones.
thing there's not a climate change. No
Yeah,
such thing.
no, that's fine. Um, so did you get a chance to read that Spider-Man story I told you about? Like
Yes.
I
Yeah.
think I just said read the third story. The first two stories are fine, but
Yeah. First two are
the
fine.
My only issue,
Yeah,
like the first two, I know. Well, the first two do what I like in any of the black, white, and whatevers. If you do one color, I don't want it to be like seeping that it's just kind of like completely colored. Like, and that's what I feel like it happens half the time. I don't think they do them right. I just don't like the way they do them.
I enjoy it when a color stands out, like the way Frank Miller did the first couple Sin City stories, where it was like
Hmm.
the girl's in a blue dress,
Girls in a
and
red
blue
dress.
dress
Yeah.
throughout.
Hmm.
Or in like Schindler's List, when like there's a girl in the pink or red jacket.
Right.
Ugh, terrible, but like that stood out, and that's
Yeah,
what
it's
these stories.
impactful.
It's impactful, and these don't really do that. They're just short stories that happen to be colored.
Yeah, it's just and I don't know like I guess what I don't understand if you're doing it's not called black, white, and red. It's called what's it called? Spider-Man Black Suit and Blood. Well, the first
Right.
story didn't have blood in. The second story, I think I don't remember. But the third story I wanted to feature because basically I've never seen Hayden Sherman write anything, number one. And it was good. Not only that, the thing that it was is okay, if you're given like 8 pages, right?
Yeah.
He gives you 14, maybe 15 pages and 8 pages. One of the pages, I think I sent it to you earlier, I screenshot it, sent it to you. I said, look at this. What's going on here? It was 14, 15 panels. And the panel at the very end is like, all right, I gotta have him jumping off this building. And it's like a postage stamp. But it was good. It's good enough. Like, and he has to be. I don't understand how he's drawing because this is a different style than he's doing in the Absolute Wonder Woman. And I'm like, I don't know who this guy is. And I don't know if you know this, but there's a book coming out, I think next week. There's like a 12 issue miniseries that he's drawing and I think even coloring for DC. It's just a Batman. It's just a Batman mini
Really?
that's going. Yeah. Yeah. And the cover, because the cover is awesome. It's a huge logo. And then he's like pulling the shirt down, you know? Like it just looks cool. And I'm like, man, how are you doing that? When did you do this? I don't know. Like I don't know when. And speaking of which, I believe that the book he did was like Dark Spaces Wildfires, which is topical in New Jersey right now. Maybe I'll download that. It's a Scott Snyder
Yeah.
story. But that's the dark
So
whatever
it
his
was
like kind of overarching thingy.
it was creepy last night because I was picking my daughter up, and it was like driving through the mist, like the movie,
Hmm. Yep.
Darabont Mist movie. That's what it felt like. The smoke was so
Yeah.
thick in the area.
I've never seen that black and white of that. Did you ever see that?
No, no, just a color version. I do love that movie. I think that
Yeah,
movie's
it's fun.
creepy.
It's really solid. It's
It's a good
got
movie
the
because Darabont has a skill of like when you're watching a Darabont movie, you feel like you're in the mist. You feel like you're in the Walking Dead TV show. You feel like you're in Shawshank. Like
yeah.
it really makes you feel like I never. What was the show after Walking Dead? He did it with a it's like a gangster show. I've never seen that
Oh.
gangster show, and I never saw the Majestic. But I'm
Yeah, I
such a
never
fan
saw
of
it.
his, fan of the Green Mile. Like he's such a good
Yeah, but
director.
I think the Majestic got like it was like it's his Frank Capra movie. And I
And
think
it
I
does,
just like I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm all right.
but he like Frank Capra.
I
You know,
do, but I don't want a new one.
you ever see the movie? You can't take it with you. It's so good. But like the guy who plays Potter is like the good guy in this movie. Like,
Oh. Oh, okay.
um, Barrymore, right? Is it Barrymore?
Lionel Barrymore. Does that
Yeah.
sound right? Yeah.
Maybe. So
Or
it's a really good
John
movie.
Barrymore.
Ugh, you want to make it creepy. I watched You Can't Take It With You with my dad in the hospital prior to him dying.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
it's a good movie
Oh
though.
no.
I know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, way to derail. But like so
It's a good
um
story. Just
I Yeah, I just don't know. It's funny. I just don't know how he's drawing this. I feel like Absolute Wonder Woman is digital, but I don't think this is, or maybe it's not. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like the lines are different here. I don't know how he did the colors. If it looks like watercolor, it looks cool. Like all of it looked really really good. The story was really good. Um,
Yeah, it's a good return to a classic story. It's always neat when you look for openings like that.
yeah, just plop it in, like just So I think it's fine. I think that's it. I think there's only 4 issues because then in the back they promote the new like Zeb Wells or I'm sorry the new Joe Kelly run. So
Right.
okay,
Which
not
I
bad.
hope. I got high hopes.
But I feel like when we had the original like Batman Black and White, there wasn't like there would be like one stinker out of 4, right? And here
Right.
I feel like there's one good out of like 30.
Well,
Like
yeah, because these aren't books aren't special anymore.
yeah,
Batman Black and White was special. So you had people like you had Jim Lee and Tim Sale and just
yeah,
Alex Ross, doing pinups in it. Like it was really special. But now they're so run of the mill. You need at least one good person,
You
at
know what it
least.
is? There's no like Marvel Comics Presents where people don't get to like or new talent showcase or whatever. There's
This
no
is
like
this
so
is the
this
closest
it is, but you
Marvel
shouldn't
Comics
be
presents.
giving these right, but you shouldn't be giving like newer people like the space. This is fine, but to me, Hayden Sherman is a bit more pedigree than whoever like
You
they're
always
throwing
need
on.
you need someone to bring us in. You needed Barry Windsor Smith on Weapon X,
Yeah.
Sam Keith on the Blood Hungry story,
Mhm.
Larson doing the Excalibur. He wasn't famous yet. You always need something to
Yeah, I grabbed the
to
Marvel Comics Presents 100 yesterday, even though I know it like it literally is like good for 3 pages and the rest are just worse every page. And it just like is like yeah, like 2 days to do that book or something. Like it
it's
seems
so
very,
weird because Sam
really
Keith's
rough.
cyber story with Blood Hungry with Wolverine is beautiful the whole way through.
Yeah,
And then he
yeah,
continued to do covers on Marvel Comic Presents. And then he does the entirety of Marvel Comic Presents 100. And it's rushed. It's so weird.
yeah. That was probably the same time we did the Charleston Chew that
Charleston,
I got recently for $1.
yeah, it's the same
Again,
time.
everything's $1. Like that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like I feel like if I wait long enough, you know,
You gotta find
everything's a
his
dollar.
you gotta find his Hellraiser comic. There's a Hellraiser anthology series he does a short story in. And it's
Mm,
so Sam Keith of that. See, I love Sam Keith always. But
mm.
like Sam Keith of like the 90s is my favorite Sam Keith.
Yeah,
From
sure.
even from Hulk through the Max, it's like that's pure Sam Keith. And he gets experimental and he loses the details, loses the phone cords and
Right.
the you know what I mean? He
Yeah, I
he
think that's why I
he
don't know what to
becomes
do with my collection. Like, do I just get up to like Max number 12 and Friends of Max number one? Like, like and then like stop. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. There's fun things. Remember that legs one shot he did? It's like a weird
Oh
motor
yeah, yeah,
with like
yeah.
legs. They made a statue of that, like a huge,
Oh my
ridiculously
God,
expensive statue of legs.
that's crazy.
I love Sam Keith. I feel like he's semi-retired. You know,
How? Off of
I don't
what?
know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, did you bank your Max money? Did you back your
hope,
like?
I hope the idea is like if you come into money like that, whether selling 1 million copies on Darker Image and the Max, or he selling the rights to MTV for the one series of the cartoon, or I think he directed a Roger Corman movie at one point. Like he
Oh,
was in to be movies for like a minute.
hmm.
Hopefully, you pay off your house, buy your cars, get rid of all your major debt type of situations, and then you could live off of stuff. I mean, he's
Yeah,
come back. He did Batman Max, which was great.
yeah.
Great to
And
see
then
him come back to that.
and I want to say they did like an artist edition of that. Like, I feel like they did a lot of stuff like with his art later.
Well, he's buddies with Scott Dunbier, who
Right.
created the could be Scott Dunbier, but he
Who
created
knows?
the idea of the what's he call them?
Artist
He calls them
editions
artist editions.
or artifact editions. If it's not like the whole like issue or something like that, then it's just pieces of stuff. We'll call it
Right, right,
artifact editions.
right.
So,
Well, they're best friends. I think Scott Dunbier named his son Sam after him. Like that's
oh
how
my
close they
God.
are.
Wow.
So
Scott
I
Dunbier,
I
bad
hope.
convention person.
Yeah, he was a little rough. Maybe I called him at a bad time.
It was not in the mood to talk. And you're like, I want to
He,
talk about this. And he's like, I don't want to talk about this. You're like,
no, he
cool.
was. You know what
Bye.
it was? I think he was hangry because I think in the middle of our conversation, if you want to call it a conversation, his wife and kids showed up with lunch, and it was like, all right, I get it. You're gonna
Right, right, right. That's what
chow down.
Liam Sharp was post lunch because he was eating. I'm looking at the art at the. I think it was trying to think who represents his art, but she's like, I was like, do you have any deaths? She's like, I'll ask him. And I'm like, no, he's eating. Like I was like, don't no. And he's like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, no, don't talk to me right now, Liam Sharp. Like I was like, wait, just keep eating. I'm so sorry. You want them fed. You want them,
Yeah, yeah. Because I
you know,
always have great conversation with people. Because I
after
think
they
people
eat.
appreciate when you know someone's career a little bit, or
Oh
I think they
yeah.
appreciate your knowledge. And I was talking to him about the weirdest part of the conversation was he he was through IDW and being friends with Sam Keith. They decided to recolor the entire Max series and put it out issue by issue. Okay, I mean it didn't need to be recolored, but maybe they don't
Mm.
have the color files.
Right, right, right.
So the new
What was that
colors.
called? Maximum edition. What was it called? They
Yep,
called
totally forget.
something.
It wasn't called
Yeah,
Maximum Edition.
something like it was
Something
something.
like that.
Yeah,
Maximum Sound. We'll talk about that
maximum
later.
sound
So he recolors one
cassette
through
tape.
30 something. And then but like Sam Keith in an interview had said like, oh, and I have like this one unpublished issue of Max we'll probably do too. And I said, oh, I said, you never did that unpublished issue. And Scott Dunbier's like, oh, there is no unpublished issue. I'm like, all right. I said, well, it would have been cool if you would have recolored like the darker image story or the Max 1/2. He's like, we did. I'm like, I don't think so.
Right.
Like, I have all the issues,
Right,
and
right,
I looked through
right,
the trades.
right.
Like, but I'm not going to argue with the guy. Is that weird? I think that's weird.
Yeah, you should
Yeah,
know.
we did. No, okay. I'm not going to argue with you. You didn't.
No, you didn't. I'm
Listen,
looking. I'm the audience.
I'm the
I'll
audience.
know.
I'm fans. I bought this book multiple times.
Right.
I
Yeah,
bought the
right.
original run. I ordered that Wizard Max 1/2.
Right, right, right,
He colored it. I got it again. You
right.
know, I've looked through the trades. I've been wanting a Max Absolute hardcover for since the '90s.
That's
I
so
know
funny.
it's not in there.
Yeah, I think it's funny the stuff that we buy over and over and over again. I
I
buy
mean,
Image Zero by every day, every time I see it. I usually buy. I just bought.
multiples of them.
Yeah,
It's
I bought a Deathmate red. I think I have two of those. Like I know every time I see. What's the one that? What's the Jared? Hearts of Darkness. I buy like every time I see it.
my Image Zero is signed by everyone in Image.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, all seven founders. I even got like the guys who like Krishiolopoulos, or I got like Scott Williams. Like I even tried to get the inkers
Oh,
associated.
wow.
I got our
Jeez.
keeper to sign it because he inked the Liefeld troll story.
Yeah, we gotta have a double. We gotta have a show and tell of our favorite signatures or something, or our favorite like things. That'd be
Todd
fun.
Klein. He signed my Promethea hardcover in the most beautiful, like,
I
holy
have a
crap, dude.
I have a John Workman sketch that I did. Who got it for me? Doug Slack, I think, got it for me.
Yeah,
It's a John Workman drawing of himself, and he says, "I like your stuff because I did a tribute lettering comic book, like which was 4 pages,
I remember.
and
That was really
it
cool.
got to him. That's what I think is crazy. It got to him,
I talked to him about it. I said, "Oh, my friend did this little thing." Yeah. He told me about it. I'm like, Mark, you're not going to believe this.
right?
Like,
He
not
got
that
it.
he
It
knows
got
you
to
by
him.
name, but he knows who
Yep,
you
that's my favorite. Yeah, I have it. I think I have my. I'll have to frame. Well, I have to maybe photocopy it. But
are. Just
anyway,
scan
back
it, and
to
share
oh
it.
yeah, back to reviews. Back to we're doing it. All right, so I think X Force is my favorite X-Men book right now.
So weird. Every week's something
It's
different, Mark.
well, here's the thing: is that like I think Uncanny is not challenging, right? I think X-Men, which we'll talk about next, I think is bridging. They're doing a bunch of stuff in there. I'll get into that in a minute. But this book is kind of the most straightforward thing. Plus, and here's where I think that they're doing a couple things wrong, or they could be doing better. I'll say could be doing better. So you have this Avengers team, right? This like Osiris Avengers, like
The Assyrian Avengers from
New Warriors
New Warrior 13,
4,
14,
13,
something
14,
like that.
15. Yeah, like so like you have this deep cut. You don't mention that. Maybe in the last I don't think so because the last issue I think believe was the reveal. But this issue they should be like you should go read this. Go to the Marvel app and go read this. Go read this like 3 or 4 issues where it was like I think it was like what was it? Because I just looked at it. I have it on my Marvel app. It was like Days of Present Future. Like it was a Days of Future Past, and it was an Assyrian Avengers, and it was awesome.
Right. It was a
It's
world
really good.
where
Bagley designs.
The Egyptian Empire never ends, and they discover America,
Hmm.
which and the Sphinx, old Nova villain, is in control, much like a year or two later, Age of Apocalypse being in control of a mutant
Right.
run world. So it's very similar.
Hmm.
Oh, and that was written by Fabian Nicieza too.
It was, yeah, yeah.
So, huh.
Supposedly uncreative, but this was really good and it was creative. But so like, well, I guess it wasn't really that. I know the flack on Nicieza basically is that he gets credit for like co-creating Deadpool, which it wasn't a thing. So
He did nothing.
right. So, but he did have a lot of good stuff, like a lot of new warrior. Like, I mean, there's a ton of new warrior stuff that we really like.
Yes. Yeah, I know
In
he's fine.
general,
He's fine.
in
I
general.
enjoyed his the Gambit ongoing series he did, and the Cable Deadpool series is pretty good.
But
Um,
but going back to X Force, like Marcus Toe, like, so then what I did is I went and looked at that Bagley stuff. Then I went back and looked at this issue. Marcus Toe does not necessarily have to redo some of the costumes of the Syrian Avengers, but he does slightly
right.
in a couple ways, and they're all a little bit better. So I thought it was cool. He's not going to draw Bagley designs per se. So he did a couple tweaks on stuff, but then you have all of them together in that group shot. And I'm like, this is the best group shot. So you have X Force and you have all the other characters together. You have all the Avengers like wrapped up into one. and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. Like this is the best Marcus Toe ever. Marcus Toe did work, I believe he worked in the same studio with Manipool and maybe even did some Manipool
Right.
backgrounds and stuff.
I think he did some early stuff in Aspen, over at Aspen
Hmm.
Comics.
Yeah. This is hands down the best, and it's the best design. I've always liked Forge. I think it was excellent. I think it's the best. I think it's like it's
It's
the best he's ever done.
it's a good
Period.
idea for a book. It's Forge. Here's our plan. We got to stop Armageddon's from happening.
Hmm.
On Forge, I
Right.
can build anything.
Right.
Yeah,
But
and
there's still there's stakes in it though.
yes,
That's the thing.
big sticks.
Right. So that's a bit different here, which will go into a couple things I have to talk about later. So X-Men had something similar, but the stakes felt I, I first off, I like this Cyclops. I think this Cyclops is the one of the best written Cyclops now.
I
So,
feel, yeah, he's a very post X-Men 97 cartoon Cyclops. He's the
right.
Cyclops that we deserve.
Magneto gives him some shit because Cyclops is just in a bar, he's drinking, and then he's like,
Yes,
"You drink with me." Then he's like, "This." Oh, he said Wolverine can do this because Wolverine's basically immortal. You can't do this,
you
and
don't
to
have
which
time.
you don't have time. To which he says, he's like, "I've been training for what I've been doing for I don't. They don't really age him,
Right.
but 20 years."
Since he was a
He,
teen.
he's like, I haven't rested ever. My girl's in space doing who knows what. Is that even a thing? Is Phoenix? There's a Phoenix. I don't even. I'm not. I can't. Like this is a great Cyclops, and it's also a really good. It's a really good Magneto too,
It
but
is.
it's a ripped Magneto. Now this guy is the guy who's filling in for Stegman, Neto Diaz,
Right.
pretty great. It's in the Stegman school. It's a little bit parts of it are a little more cartoony. There's so many abs. I'm not sure if abs go here. Don't care. Again, I'm not worried
Why
about
would
the
you know?
anatomy. No, I do not know. They've been there maybe once for like 2 weeks, maybe. When
It's
I was 16.
super
That's it.
dehydrated. Like,
It's over. But it's but this is a combination. So McKay's basically doing. They're still they're out of referencing any of the Krakoa stuff, basically a little bit
except they
because
really reference it a lot in this one.
well, the thing is, well, I think that they're not like they're only talking about the one concept of it. I feel like they talked about every concept in the first 2 or 3 issues. This one, they're saying like there's problems with us being regenerated,
Yes,
right? Which is a copy of a copy of a copy. So that's kind of neat.
that is neat.
I think that's pretty good to the point where even the person they're kind of tracking is maybe a mutant, maybe not. Like, there's a little bit of a funky situation there. But having Evie, but now I kind of want to go back and I want to read Jason Aaron's like Wolverine and the X-Men run again because I feel like there's more elements of that, which is a little bit taking out of Morrison. This is kind of what we talked about earlier, how I want everything to just be continual. I want it to be like just keep going and around. And that's why X Force feels like that because you have Captain Britain there, you have Betsy over there, you have her in a different space. Here you have Evie, but Evie's evolved a lot, and I don't really remember. I remember the beginning of her,
Right.
and they talk about Quentin in later in the issue, but he's not in it. So you're
Not,
having just
not much.
elements of stuff. Yeah, so you have elements of Quentin Quire, you have Evie doing the majority of the heavy lifting in it.
You got
I
Glob. Always got
Yeah,
Glob.
Glob's always great, but I'm in love with the new Juggernaut design. So to not have that at all, I didn't love that, and I didn't love Magic to show up because I feel like the two best designed
No, my
characters
mistake is
and
Mark.
they're
I
hanging
read six
out.
and seven. I read 6 and 7 back to back today.
Oh, you jerk!
So I'm like,
So
oh, wait a
you're
minute.
satisfied. I need my Juggernaut. I need a fix
I was like,
because
Magic
that
was in it. I'm like, was she?
nah no
Didn't she go steal the little girl?
last yeah it's in six not seven.
That's
Yeah, because you read six. Yeah, so I'm in six. But see, but again, they're coming out. I think every 3 week, every 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Like I mean, it's shipping, for sure. Because again, X Force Five, X Force is monthly. Marcus Toad not didn't miss any issues. Stagnant's missing issues, but I'm not mad about it. You know what I mean? Like this artist is excellent.
yeah.
It's
Not if
fun.
you get if you get an artist of similar style,
Well,
it's
it's funny. Like
unnoticeable.
how many issues did John Boy Myers draw of stuff? Not a lot, but I feel like there's a
No.
little bit of John Boy Myers here, and the guy who did
Yes, I,
JSA.
I know. I was thinking that. Funny enough, that's
Yeah,
why I even said Diaz is the artist of JSA because I momentarily mixed them up.
right. You flipped them. Yeah, and again, not interchangeable, but pretty close. That's pretty close.
Yeah,
So
yeah, not interchangeable, but yeah, I like their styles the same.
mhm.
They're not the same, but I like them the same right
Yeah,
now. They both are good at storytelling. They're both good at when they draw a character, you know it's that character. You're not like guessing like who is that? Oh, never mind, it's them. Like sometimes
right.
an artist, they struggle with that a little bit. I mean, costumes help.
Who created the cabin? Was that a Claremont, the Alaska cabin, the
I
Summers
feel like
cabin?
that. Isn't that where he took Madeline?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, they
Yeah, so
definitely.
that makes sense. So like but I like that. He's like, I'm here, I'm in my refuge, and he's looking at like a Sentinel like warehouse, a Sentinel factory,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
defunct Sentinel factory. And then as Sentinel just
McKay's,
shows up.
Ed McKay's doing a good job balancing Byrne, Morrison, Jim Lee, cartoon.
And again, a little bit of that
Like
the Aaron
Aaron, like
stuff coming in. The school is coming in. Like that's the
these
thing is
five
that
things
Wolverine and
work.
the X-Men.
These five things work really good. Why wouldn't you make an X Men comic based off of these five things?
Mhm. And I
It's
like
good math.
Magneto and them like turning and they even make fun of stuff. He says to me, my X-Men, he says it like in the bar. It's really
Yeah,
funny. It comes off really he's like, I'm exhausted. Just sit with me and have a beer.
yeah,
And even just thinking about that concept, he's like, yeah, Wolverine can get away with this. You can't. And I think I was
yeah,
like, this is kind of because how many listen, the last issue of Amazing Spider-Man is Wolverine in a bar. And then him telling Spider-Man, he's like, "You're not supposed to be here. Like, what are you doing here?" Because
mm,
he's had hundreds of birthdays or however many birthdays, and then
yeah.
Spider-Man just keeps showing up on his birthday. Anyway, just it's pretty. Again, I'm
It's
not happy
Wolverine.
with all the X stuff,
Wolverine
but
birthdays in
I'm
comics,
happy. Yeah.
like you can kind of get
Oh
away with,
yeah.
but like Spider Man birthdays, you really can't because there's
Right.
only going to be so many times you can have a birthday party.
Right. Right.
It's like
Right.
it's like Simpsons Christmas episodes. Like how many times can you have a Christmas episode? You're all in the same grade still.
They're all in the same
Yeah.
grade.
It's all
Yeah.
the same. You know
That's
what I
fine.
mean? But it's fine. You ignore it on Simpsons because you love it for that reason.
Yeah.
But a comic, it's like it's a little trippier, you know.
Yeah. I didn't have anything for Image because everything in Image this week was all in the middle of storylines and stuff. So there really wasn't anything to really pick there.
Yeah,
Um,
I didn't get a chance to read Saga. I mean, I am still reading Saga
I
monthly.
think Sacrifice just came out too, and again, I'm waiting until that's over. You know. Um, all right, so Conan came out.
Yeah,
This is Conan Battle of Blackstone issue 3. There's 4 issues of this. There's actually, I wonder, I'm probably just going to waste money on this, right? There's a novel that you can read right now before issue 4 that takes place. Now, I think it's supposedly out right now, but I would have like a month to read an actual novel. I don't like words. You know what I mean? So like I don't like words on page. I like, Conan on the page. Um, this felt very much like, and I'm not going to spoil anything. The only thing I will say that I was surprised last issue in issue 2, and I think there's 7. There's basically 7 Robert E. Howard characters slammed together.
right.
Last issue, someone gets ripped in half, not spoiling who it is. And then this issue, 2, maybe 3 more die. And I'm like, what is happening? Now, it doesn't really matter because remember, they're plucked out of of all the different. I'm from 1520, I'm from 1572. Like, so 2 characters are talking. Solomon Kane's saying where he's from and what date he's from. He's talking to someone else, and that person's like, "Oh, well, I'm from 50. How is that possible?" He's like, "Doesn't matter." And I was like, "Right." Like, so, like, I love all of it. And I'm just like, man, but then someone else died, then like 2 more people died. I'm like, what is go no, like so again, same thing. I know it doesn't really matter, but this is something that I feel like the stakes are just really, really heavy and great. And this is Jonas Scharf and this is Jim Zub. Jim Zub art and Jonas Scharf drawing. It's excellent. It's highest production quality and the cover is a Liam Sharp cover that's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And the guy who did the alternate cover is a guy who does a lot of Instagram stuff. It's he's the guy you might have seen him where he has like maybe 2 characters in there and it's like a little watercolor. They're like little drawings. They're like little caricatures, and he did one of all the characters and stuff. So there's a good Prince one. There's a good Prince one drawing that he did one time. Prince and Apollonia uh the motorcycle. So, but really, that was just excellent. I know you can't read that because you have to read 20
I
books
think
before you read that. Yeah, you have to read about 20 books before you have to read that. So going into that, into the licensing and nostalgia and all that, when you read DuckTales this week, the test of a true licensed book right now is, did you hear the song while you were reading it?
Yes.
Yeah, right. And also
Uh,
at the end they even say that like so coming up next, woohoo, and I'm like, okay, yeah, like so. This was good. This
it
was
was
really good.
solid. It was really
Yeah.
good. It's nice that it comes off the back of the Jason Aaron Uncle Scrooge comic that we had gotten from Marvel
Hmm.
a couple months
Right.
back. Did you read that?
I did read that. Yeah, and and I'm not sure where they're picking they're always like an Italian artist or some I know this whatever his name that was, it was a giant name. It's a huge name.
Yeah.
So
So
they ain't living here.
I haven't read enough Uncle Scrooge comics. I've read probably a dozen or so in my life, but like I know they're really good.
Hmm.
The Don Rosa, the Carl Barks, obviously all that stuff is really good stories. Because I did like DuckTales as a kid. I didn't watch every episode, but I caught it when I did. So like reading the Jason Aaron comic kind of got me go, oh, do I want to read every single Duck comic ever?
I don't
Like
know.
I
I'm
might,
gonna read every Conan book
I might.
ever. Yeah.
With my limited time on this earth, it's like I want to read every Superman, which I'm pretty good. I'm pretty thick into that.
Right, right,
Just
right.
like you wanted to read every Batman, didn't you? Start like we both have been starting
Uh
these weird
yeah,
forever projects.
there's different I go on by like 50 or so. I started doing Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man through 100 because I know I read like 290 at least 298 through. Some in the 250s,
Mhm.
but 298 through I've read everything. And then same thing with Batman. Batman 89, I've read everything.
Yeah,
And
almost every Marvel DC comic from 90 up, I've read almost every
Batman,
single one.
yeah, so Batman I've read through 300. So, yeah, 200 to 300 is my favorite. That's the sick that's Bob Brown, it's Carmen
Okay.
Infantino. Bob Brown's my favorite Batman artist, which is was my favorite Silver Age Batman artist. 66 did most of his work. And then Frank Robbins. This is where I need to figure out a Frank Robbins thing because I don't understand how Frank Robbins wrote so many issues. Then he drew stuff, and I think Frank Robbins is on the T-shirt I got for you last week, right? The Invaders. It's a Frank Robbins art.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good shirt.
But I
Everyone will
remember
buy
as a
it.
kid looking through Invaders and hating it. I remember hating Frank Robbins. And then at a certain point, I'm like, oh, I know what's going on. I know what he's doing here. Like, because the Frank Robbins, which became, and he did some issues he did an issue or two of like Detective, and he drew it too. And you're just like, what is this? And it's Batman like falling down like off of like a,
You're not alone
uh,
there. I think John Suntress from the Word Balloon podcast said the same thing. He
what?
didn't get it at first,
Then
the art,
no, no.
and then he came back to appreciate it later. I've always had a thing for Golden Age characters. Like when I first got into comics, I just felt like I knew everything about the modern age and the Silver Age. So the Golden Age was the last thing I got into, even though I
Mhm.
got into it within a year or two of collecting comics. Collecting comics is very weird when you dive in, but like the Golden Age
The
characters told,
entryway. Yeah.
yes,
What you attach to, and now it's a whole thing where like what because I remember a couple years ago, I'm like, would I ever do? I don't never do a Conan. Now I'm like, I just want to complete but
my
there's no
first Conan,
rush.
my first Conan comic was the McFarlane cover, and I'm
Right,
like, I fell in love. I'm like, oh, I mean, I was of course dreaming that McFarlane would draw Conan, or any of the artists I liked at the time would draw. But then you kind of learn like, oh,
right.
these artists are good. Like it's not like
Well, that would
everything
that
has to be drawn
yeah,
by Art Larson or
right, right. Well, that was a fun little run of covers because you had like a Big Nola cover, you had
Jim Lee
Jim Lee
cover,
cover.
two
Yeah,
Art Adams covers, two or three Art Adams covers.
yeah. I have the Art Adams. I have an early cover in two early 200s that he did. That was like right around the long shot time.
Yeah. So that
So
that that kind of that got me to buy Conan on a regular basis. Then I just got into it from there for a while.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I read the entire 50 issues of the Busiek run, and then when Truman took it over, I think I fell off. But I read zero
You know what else
through
was great?
50,
The two what ifs with Conan. What if Conan was like in modern times or whatever? Like those. What if Conan
and
was Berserk? It's like,
when what if Conan and fought Wolverine,
yeah,
which
that was
was
a modern one. Yeah.
which is interesting because like I'm looking through some old Conans and Gary Kwapitz drew that, but that was like he was a Conan artist for the most part, And after last week of like we talked about Jeff Isherwood did tons of finishing on the ones I'm looking at now, the ones like I yesterday in the 200 early 220s.
Yeah.
Like that's all Jeff Isherwood, and it's awesome. It's Val Mayerick or no, it's Val Semex. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Jim Owsley, Christopher Priest,
Right.
and yeah, that's a mix, and then Jeff Fisherwood finishing. So just great, just great. But somehow, yeah. But DuckTales. So now we always keep going back to Conan.
Yeah.
Um,
I I did read. All right, go on. What's the next book you want to talk about?
Yeah, I guess the last book that and I read it and I didn't love it, but I feel like I so it's Kelly Sue DeConnick and it's David Lopez. I think I wanted to feature it and tell you to check it out because there's a couple things going on in it. So
I read it.
basically, well, we're not. I guess Kelly Sue DeConnick's a little older than us, but this is basically a very Portland comic book. It's a very Portland. I'm a 51-year-old mom who was in a punk band and was like crazy fun back then, made punk zines. But back in the back of it, they show like copies of zines. And what was her name? Her name, I forget what the name of the punk band that she was in or what her name was. But it was funny. But David Lopez's art was it. Like that was all over the place. Like it was all, and I want to say that he left and did because he did one of Kelly's runs of Captain Marvel, right?
I believe so.
One of the runs, and then he did a lot of the work that the where I like him the most is when Hawkeye kind of had a series for a while. Remember, it was
Mhm.
like Hawkeye and like Black Widow had all these series like together. Widowmaker, they had all these series
Right.
through
Yeah, Mockingbird
Mockingbird.
series. Yeah,
Yeah, so it was like this like kind of continual, and that was Jim McCann, if I remember right, who was basically an editor, but just knew everything about Hawkeye. So you just had like eight Hawkeye stories in a row, which I think they're doing a Hawkeye. If they didn't already do it, I want to say it's an epic collection coming that it's all that stuff, which is kind of fun. And what's weird is right around that time you had Green Arrow and Black Canary stories that were kind of similar. That were what Judd Winnick was
yes.
doing when
Right,
Cliff Chang
right.
was drawing it. So you had like and then and Amanda Connor, like you had kind of the same.
That
They're
wedding
kind of
issue is
the
really
same.
good. There were some their wedding. I think the wedding special was like really good. Whatever Amanda Connor drew,
Yeah, yeah.
that,
Well,
that
yeah,
was so
and
good.
she did the Bachelorette party too. It was just like her emoting, and that's similar with Lopez here, is the emoting and the different faces that are happening. But you know, him jumping into doing some black and white, doing some sketch, doing some pencil work. It's just a very inventive. I don't really care because again, I'm not a 51-year-old mom. No, I'm just not. I'm not going to be. But I just think like I just had to kind of feature it there. So I didn't care that much about it. Felt a little too like, hey, write what you know, but you know,
Yeah, I did check out the that Ash can was available. The City Beneath Our Feet. Did
which
you get
one
a
is
chance
that?
to check that out? That's the
Is that the Elsa
Chartier.
Chartier?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's the Tini and Elsa Chartier and Jordi Belair doing, and that's the same thing. I know I've been like very pro colors. Is Jordi Belair did the color palette?
we
Not
bring her up a lot.
exactly. Yeah, I bring her up a lot. Well, she was one of the first colors that angered me, and I called you because
Yeah,
she did a Tom Strong mini, and she was doing all these like oranges. I'm like, what is this? Who is this? I don't
yeah.
want this, but
We
I
were
can't
so
tell you.
excited to get Tom Strong back, and then it
But
looked
yeah, it was
stylized.
Peter Hogan wrote that. Is that right? And it
Yes.
was still Chris Sprouse, Carl Story.
Peter Hogan, by the way, is friends with Alan Moore,
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and he
it's
has.
authorized. He did Knight and Squire. Like, I mean, there's certain things. Did you Knight and
Yeah,
Squire? Does that sound right?
yeah,
Or is
I
that
think
Paul
so.
Cornell?
That might be Paul Cornell, but
Yeah.
don't call him Paul Hogan. That's he's not Paul Hogan. He's not the Crocodile Hunter,
Right.
Crocodile Dundee.
Right.
No, but he's and Peter Hogan also wrote the Terra Obscura books, the
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's
public
right.
domain Golden Age characters that Alan Moore brought back
Right.
in the Tom Strong ongoing
And
series.
that was Yannick Paquette. Yeah, those and they had two minis, if I'm right,
Too
if
many,
I
and they were
remember.
good. They were
They
good.
were great. Yeah, they were really good.
You know, at one point, I thought Peter Hogan would like, should he write Supreme?
That would
Because
be fine. Yeah,
that would
that
be
would probably be really good. But like, but who was the colorist on the original Tom Strong's then? Was it just like Ollie? Was it just like Wildstorm color or whatever? I'm trying. I don't remember.
good. I just totally forgot. It was very solid. It was. I never questioned it.
Mm.
It just that was
Uh,
such a good. Well, the ABC books were so well put together. What a line! What a line of comics.
yeah. But I just was. But Jordi Belair is now incorporating what she did on the new Birds of Prey with Leandro Romero, whoever you say that is, whoever's, and that's been through a couple different art changes, and I'm not sure what they're doing now. But they just have this like kind of like almost uh it just looks like crayons, like you know, and there's just different things in there. But
It's neat.
Elsa's
It's
also
the art.
doing a lot of acting. Yeah, Elsa's doing a lot of different acting, and she's drawing a little bit different as well. that's a whole other. I don't know if you've done any of her art studies when she does her 45-minute. I'm going to try to draw like Mike Mignola. Do you ever see any of those?
No, no.
Oh my gosh!
You
First
have,
off,
you have
the
you have a lot more
production of
time
that.
than me.
Yeah, well, my kids are older, so yeah,
Your kids are older, and you're at home when you do half your job. So it's like,
yeah, yeah,
I got
yeah,
2 minutes. Let's watch a video. That I got.
yeah. I love the
But
no commute, no commute. Thank
that's
you.
not a slam in any way, by the way. Because it is different from her. What's the book she does with Tom King?
Love everlasting.
Love Everlasting.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's her style is so different. It's such a more fluid story. Like it's a more everything's moving in this, and she
Mhm.
does the moving great. She tells the story. It's a fast paced. You know,
Yeah, I want to read. I want to read a Tinian book. It's just that he's so entrenched because I loved his Batman run. I thought his Batman. I thought his Batman run. I thought that the detective stuff he was doing was fine. You know what I mean? But I just didn't. I thought it was fine. I thought that like, but I didn't like love it. But I really liked the Batman. I thought the Batman was insane. Um, yeah, but that's it. And I guess the only other thing as far as stuff that was on the DC app had the Batman the Cult Deluxe Edition, which I think we talked about Punisher POV, which was the Cult 2. Cult did well, but they didn't want to renew it, or he wanted to do the series again, and then DC said no for God knows what reason, and then he moved over there. But what's cool about this deluxe edition in the back, of course, there's a ton of sketches. The cover that they used, it looks like a zoomed in panel of something that was in the book, but then they said it was a poster. But I
huh,
don't know if it was a poster. I don't remember that. I
I don't
don't
know. I
remember.
didn't get a chance to check that out, but I will.
But there's color guides in the back. So you see
Oh,
Bill Ray color guides, which is just so fun.
such a Bill Ray fan. I
Yeah.
was working Crack Magazine. I was into Crack Magazine before I was collecting comics. So whenever I would see any of the Crack Magazine guys show up in real comics, I
Mhm.
was like amazed. Like, oh, there's Bill Ray. There's Bob Fingerman. There's most incredibly, I think I brought this up. There was this one artist, Eel O'Brien, which is like I didn't know he was stealing his name from Plastic Man at the time.
Mhm.
Like for years, I would look this guy up, and then one day I'm just like, I go back and look at it. I'm like, oh, it's Dan Klaus. I'm a moron. I hadn't looked at the
Oh,
work
that's
in
right.
such a. I hadn't looked at Craig Magazine in so long. When I went back and looked at it, I'm like, oh, this is
That's
obviously
crazy. I don't think I knew that. Yeah, I don't think I knew that.
no. He did this series of comic strips called The Ugly Family, kind of a weird Adams Family. Craig Magazine in the late '80s was really good, and simultaneously, just to kind of like one of the last books I want to bring up, Mad Magazine last week, political issue, kind of a sore topic, but it's a lot of funny older articles and some new stuff, which is they actually do a segment of like Garbage Pail Kid, presidential candidates.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
It's fun if you get a chance to look at it.
Yeah, it's on the DC app. I think it's cool that that comes out. I think the DC app versus the Marvel app, DC just kind of wins because they put a lot of collections on there. They do the week they come out in print, you know, their collections are kind of right up there
They're really good about like if there's a holiday special, they'll throw it on the app right away. They
right
won't
away.
make you wait that
Yeah.
amount of time. Even the basic level that poor people can barely afford.
Right.
Like it's oh here's the holiday special
Yeah,
because why would we
I
make
pay the annual because I think Ultra is the best. I think it's really good.
good?
You know, I'm fine. I'm very happy to spend, but Marvel's so spotty with what it puts out, and I don't think they have the rights to the Hasbro to put the Hasbro stuff on there. So none of the ROMs showed up. None of the. I do think it's weird
Oh
that
no.
there's
So it's
no.
like you could only get it in hardcover form?
You can only get it, or you can buy a digital hardcover. Yeah, you can buy the. But they are doing ROM Epic
Through
collections. They did announce a ROM Epic collection, which is probably gonna be five. Yeah, the ROM. I think there should have been two collections, two ROMnibuses. They did three. And I think that's the right amount. Well, they're doing three Micronauts. Um, but the third one's going to be bad because the Micronauts at the end kind of peters out, and New Voyages is not very good. So
I should have brought this up in news, but you see Dynamic Forces doing a Thundercats omnibus
yeah. Like
of
that's
the Star
of the
comic.
Star comics, yeah. But I think we when we talked about it earlier in the week, I guess I could find this out, right? I guess I could text Nick. Hey, can you do it?
Yeah, you're
You
friendly with
know,
them.
yeah. So I was, I guess I could text them. Um, Can I ask? Yeah, I'll have to ask Nick if they have the Wildstorm stuff. I yes, I so because the rights are so weird because so in the Romnibus, the Romnibus Volume 3, they have the Hulk issue in that because they can because they're back at Marvel printing that. But if say IDW printed Rom comics, right? They wouldn't be able to have the Hulk issue in, right? But the Hulk issue in the Epic collection, where that was going to plop in to something, has does not have the cover, has a synopsis of the book in like 2 panels, maybe 2 pages, because Rom's on every page because Manlo was writing both
Right.
at the time. So like it's embarrassing. Like I'll have to send you the screenshots, or if you go on the I don't even think it's in the Marvel app at all. But if you the Epic collection, it's in the Epic collection file, and it's just like it's ridiculous. But now that they have it, like is it bad for them to go back and print the Epic collection and then you have like a different edition Epic collection?
Yes, that's what you do. And
That's
then
what you do, but then that's going
you're,
to go out of print, and then like then you don't have rights to ROM anymore. Then you can't do it.
I would say, put out the new edition, and anyone who bought the old one who wants the new one can now sell it cheap for someone who doesn't want to spend money on the new one.
Yeah, there
That's
should
the
be
way.
like a
Like it
yeah,
never bothered me buying new editions of stuff. If I could then sell the older edition, I mean, it'd be great to get your money back, but simultaneously, if you sell it cheap, you sell it cheap, and then someone else gets it.
yeah. We're so used to kind of flipping stuff. Like my biggest recent flip was Criminal Volume 3 Deluxe Edition came out and had
Right,
covers to match new editions of 1 and 2. And I'm like, but the editions of 1 and 2 Deluxe Editions were covers. The covers of those covers were covers inside the regular book. So
right.
it didn't matter. So it's like I wasn't losing a piece of artwork, which I was like originally I thought they were, but they weren't. They're actually pictures of something a good cover that was in there. So
It would be interesting.
okay.
I know DC is easier to deal with, especially with Batman crossovers, but there was a Thundercats Superman crossover through Wildstorm when Wildstorm had
Yeah.
Thundercats. So
Yeah,
hopefully, if Dynamic Forces can do a Thundercats collection, hopefully they can work that in a deal.
they probably can because DC, well, who I don't know. I guess how are they getting the Star comics? Those are Marvel comics, right? Yeah.
Yeah, those are Star Comics or Marvel Comics.
So I think it's easier to get that because Dynamite's already had stuff. They've already had Batman Shadow. They've already had a bunch of stuff with DC already.
Yeah.
They had a Conan Red Sonja miniseries, which I've never read, but Dan Panosian, that's he did that like 6 or 7 years ago. I never looked at it, but that's new. That's new. What do you have it? You have it over there. I see it. Um, so yeah, but that's I think that's it. Yeah, but I'd be
Yeah.
curious to see if they can get that. I guess I'll find out. See about exclusive
Yes.
news, exclusive.
All right. Well, that's good for this week. I think we talked about everything.
Yep.
Not
Well,
everything, but the books that jumped out at us.
yeah. That's
So
all the
believe me,
usual
we could
stuff.
sit here and talk about every comic that came out, but why?
But what? Right.
I have a family. Let me get back to my family.
Yeah.
So
I guess.
all
I
right,
guess. So Kathy
it's
won't
been
yell at
good.
me in the
It's been
background.
good.
Yeah, she won't yell at me in the background this week.
Uh,
So be like, why don't you? She yelled last week because last week I was like, we got to record this one thing, and then we recorded like a Monday night. It was supposed to be an hour and a half. It was like a 3 hour.
yeah,
Way to
the
go.
point of separating our show into three shows was supposed to be all right. Well, instead of one 3 hour show, we'll have three 1 hour shows. But then we did three shows that were like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like
Right. So now we're doing it. Then we ended up doing almost 6 hours instead. So not great. So
we just gotta
yeah.
shut up. We gotta
So
shut
let
up with you face, Mark.
crossing the fingers. Shut up. I have it up here. I have a Blue Monty. Shut up at your face. I have it right up here.
You're just pointing to Spider
Um,
Man's arm.
yeah.
That's all we see.
I see. I got the sides wrong. All right. So yeah. So we're gonna see. So with cross fingers because I'm recording this in a higher res and I'm recording it to the computer and we recorded earlier and it didn't show up. It's very nerve wracking. I know it's supposed to take a couple hours to process. It's just still scary. I can't see it. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right,
Hopefully these will all be up.
good.
All
Everyone have
right.
a good week, and we'll see you Thursday with a deep dive.
Deep dive.